And so this video begins on July 5th, 2026. I just stayed the last 2 nights in the Embassy Suites Hotel right here near the Philadelphia airport. This is where I stayed. I promised you I would show you. I had to check out of my room already. It was all right. The AC wasn't so well here on this hot summer, this heat wave of a summer, but it feels better today. I am departing Philadelphia, and I'm taking you guys with me. I really enjoyed my last couple of days with my friends, celebrating the 250th anniversary of America, where it all began, right here in Philadelphia. Thanks for watching those videos. I noticed the ponds in here are really green. Look at the moss on the rock. Is that supposed to happen indoors? It was an okay stay, just okay. Yep, all right. Not complaining, just saying. And now I have come to Maryland. Just exited at what is known as the Chesapeake House. It's a rest stop right in the middle of Interstate 95. We are heading towards Baltimore today for another historical endeavor to celebrate the 250th birthday, the 250th year of America. We're heading to where Francis Scott Key wrote this country's national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if it's your first time. I'm Tampa J. Thanks for clicking on this video. We are continuing this road trip, started by leaving Knoxville, headed through Virginia, visiting Jefferson and Washington's home, went to Philadelphia to celebrate Independence Day on the 250th anniversary of the country, and now I'm heading back south, first stopping here at this rest stop, heading to Baltimore. We are heading to where, as I was saying, Francis Scott Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner back in 1812, during the War of 1812. We're going to go to the exact spot, and also Fort McHenry is where he saw the dawn's early light, the inspiration right across from the house that sparked the national anthem. We're going to check out that history today as we continue this America 250th road trip. Had a great time in Philadelphia the last couple of days with my friends, Jacob the Carpetbagger and the Philly Captain. That was one of the best Independence Day experiences of my life, so I want to thank those guys again. Can't wait to get back to Philly. We're going to head to Baltimore today. Who knows what we'll see along the way, but the main feature is where the Star-Spangled Banner was written. That's going to be it. We got about an hour drive down to Baltimore. I just want to point out a ton of my ancestors, specifically in the 1700s, lived in the Chesapeake Bay area. Philadelphia, South Jersey, Baltimore, all in this area. And I look forward to diving deep into that history, into my heritage in the future. I'm just still learning about my family and Ancestry.com, and it's been so exciting. Do a lot of research behind the scenes, put in a lot of time, and there's never enough time to find out everything. And throughout the years that I will be filming, I'll be finding stuff. I just learned after visiting the first church in Philadelphia that my 8th great grandparents went to that church, and they are buried there. I was there yesterday with the Philly Captain, had no idea. Had a hunch, started researching after I found out about the church, and sure enough, my 8th great grandparents went to church with Ben Franklin, Betty Ross, and at some point George Washington at that church in Philadelphia, which is very exciting. So there's an example of something I have to revisit someday. Much ahead, as I always say. Let's begin this endeavor. We're heading to Baltimore. Thank you so much for watching. Let's go. I'm now about to travel underneath the Fort McHenry tunnel, or should I say through the Fort McHenry tunnel. Visiting Baltimore with Chris the Girl, visiting Edgar Allan Poe's grave. That was 3 years ago. Oh yeah, I forgot, I was here for haunt season last October. I did 2 haunted houses, one called Bennett's Curse right here in Baltimore. That's truly the last time I was in Baltimore. But before that, Edgar Allan Poe's grave. That was a long tunnel. And no, I do not believe in holding my breath. And to find the Star-Spangled Banner house, you gotta come to downtown Baltimore. And look at this. This is the Star-Spangled Banner house right here on Pratt Street. I just got to find parking and walk back. All right, guys. Baltimore. We are on the ground. It is another hot summer day here in New England. Welcome to the Star-Spangled Banner Flag House at 844 East Pratt Street. Now, it is Sunday, so it's not open. But the whole point was to just see this place. Maybe someday I'll come back and take the tour, but I wanted to talk about its history before I take you to the exact spot where Francis Scott Key wrote the national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. This is the house that was owned by the lady who made the flag that hung over Fort McHenry, the flag that Francis Scott Key saw in 1814 during that battle over Fort McHenry. Actually, Francis Scott Key was on a ship out in the harbor of Baltimore when he was inspired, when he saw the bombardment going on. He saw that and then went back to his hotel, which that's where I want to go show you, because that's the actual spot where he finished the Star-Spangled Banner poem. All right, so this was the former home of Mary Pickersgill, the woman who made the massive American flag that flew over Fort McHenry during the War of 1812. It was the very flag still standing after the British bombardment in 1814 that inspired Francis Scott Key to write the words Star-Spangled Banner. So this isn't just a historic home, it's directly connected to one of the most powerful symbols in American history. Mary Pickersgill moved into the flag house in 1807 with her mother Rebecca Young and her daughter Caroline, and set up a flag making shop. In the summer of 1813, Commander Joshua Barney and General John Stricker and Major James Calhoun visited her shop and asked Mary to make a garrison flag for Fort McHenry. The flag was 30 feet hoist and 42 feet fly, with the 15 stripes and 15 stars. And beside the house, in the courtyard of the museum, way back there on the wall, they have a realistic copy of that flag. My first time in Washington, D.C., I went to the American History Museum, and inside that museum, they have the original flag on display. And I strongly recommend, if you're ever in D.C. and you haven't seen that yet, make that priority. The museum is awesome, but they do have the Star-Spangled Banner on display, and you can see it. It's really cool. The house right here where it was made. It's cool to put that together. And yesterday I was at the home of Betsy Ross of Philadelphia, who created America's first flag. 2 days in a row, flag history, monumental locations. All right, so now we're gonna head to the spot where Francis Scott Key wrote our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. All right, guys, so it is said at the corner of Hanover Street and Baltimore Street, this is Baltimore right here, and this is Hanover right here, North Hanover Street. The hotel is no longer here. It's been long gone for over a century, but this was the site of the Indian Queen Hotel, the place where Francis Scott Key finalized the Star-Spangled Banner. Somewhere on this corner. Not so sure which side. There's not a lot of historical records. They don't seem to have like a plaque to commemorate it. I just did a search on it. Just gonna do a 360. But right here is where Francis Scott Key was staying when he wrote the Star-Spangled Banner. So I did a quick search. It says that Francis Scott Key wasn't in Baltimore as a tourist or just staying at a hotel. He was on a mission to help secure the release of Dr. William Beans, a Maryland physician who had been captured by the British after the burning of Washington. So Francis Scott Key was actually on a boat out in Baltimore Harbor on a small American truce ship, being held there by the British until after their attack of Fort McHenry. Through the night of September 13, 1814, he watched the British bombard the fort with rockets and cannon fire. From the water, he could see the flashes in the sky and the American flag flying over the fort. By dawn, after hours of fighting and smoke cleared, the flag was still there. The sight inspired him to write the poem that became the Star-Spangled Banner, and he finished it up right here, somewhere right here in his hotel. And also, I should mention that the ship that Francis Scott Key was on when he saw the bombardment of Fort McHenry was the HMS Tonant. T-O-N-N-A-N-T. HMS Tonant. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Could be Tonant. All right, I'm on my way out to Fort McHenry right over here. Just saw the sign. Right there is Francis Scott Key High School over there to the right. Now entering Fort McHenry National Monument and Historic Shrine. All right, so far free parking. About ready to enter the Fort McHenry National Monument and Historic Shrine Visitor and Education Center. It's a really nice building. Looks like they have group tours, and it looks like they close at 5:45 today. 4:48, so I have just under an hour. Just double checking, is it free today?
Oh yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Free day.
All right, awesome. Thank you. All right, so it is still U.S. free day for national parks. And here is the map. We are right here. We're gonna walk out to the historic fort. Here's a smaller recreation of the Star-Spangled Banner and a statue of Mr. Francis Scott Key right here next to the flag. He's holding a telescope, of course. And here's all the history we have learned so far. And here are some of the cannonballs, the types of cannonballs that were seen that inspired the national anthem. All right, we got a nice little timeline in here throughout the history. Here's an illustration of what the fort looked like. Oh, there's so much stuff to look at here. Check out the giant cannon. This is a replica of one of the cannons that was on Fort McHenry. This is all about the entire War of 1812. There are several artifacts that were used in that war in here, including some rifles. This was the uniform of the United States Army at that time. Check out the red sash. And it says over here that at the end of the war, in 1814, neither an exhausted America nor a frustrated Britain could see much to gain from further fighting. The two sides finally agreed to a peace treaty in Ghent, Belgium on December 24th. Glorious news, Orleans saved and peace concluded. The last battle of the War of 1812 was the Battle of New Orleans, and they fought that battle after the treaty. They had not got word yet, and the British and the Americans fought that battle, and the war had already been over. And the most famous commander, of course, at the Battle of New Orleans, Mr. General Andrew Jackson. All right, guys, there's just a ton of stuff to see in here. I gave you the highlights. This is the last thing we see before we take the door out to Fort McHenry. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. And over here we have a copy of the manuscript of the Star-Spangled Banner. Oh, say can you see? It says Key's original draft of the song, first printed with the title of Defense of Fort McHenry. We've got a nice path, a little bit of walk, say about a quarter of a mile or so to the left, and then to the front of Fort McHenry. Check this out. They got the flag flying right there in the same spot Francis Scott Key saw it. Now, he would have been out in the Baltimore harbor. I heard that there is a spot marked, the exact spot the boat stood when he started riding the Star-Spangled Banner. Maybe we can see it from the fort. And that is historically the spot where they say he wrote the Star-Spangled Banner, which makes sense. That's where he saw it, that's where he started riding, but technically he didn't finish it until he got back to his hotel at the spot I just showed you. So technically there are two spots that he wrote the Star-Spangled Banner. I wanted to make sure to get that in the video so you could see all of the history right here. This is a cool picture because these are some of the last veterans of the War of 1812. This photo was taken in 1880. And here we are getting closer to the fort. These are the ramparts that Francis Scott Key wrote about in the Star-Spangled Banner. Ramparts are simply the fort walls. And right here it's reminding us that it is fee-free day for U.S. residents to all national parks. And we're going to enter the walls of Fort McHenry right here. Just want to show you what was going on here. This reminds me of the fort in Key West. And I can't remember the name of that fort, but we've been there. That was more of a Civil War era fort. And not too many people out here on this hot Sunday evening. We're gonna have most of this fort to ourselves. Look at that. You are standing in the most vulnerable point of Fort McHenry and potentially the most deadly. The main entrance was the weakest part of the fort's walls, fearing a British land attack. The defenders built the ravelin, the structure to your right, for protection in 1813. This one right here kind of just sets in the open of the walls. Yeah, this was all exposed. Okay, it looks like we can go underneath the fort as you typically can, these old forts. Okay, there's people in here. Check out the giant steel doors. Oh wow, you can see down in there. I think we can climb down in there if we wanted to, yeah. Here we are. I think they're lowering the flag. In full glory reflected. 9 a.m. September 14th, 1814. The bombardment has ended. The battle is over. One goes up, one goes down. That was cool with the flutes. There you go. Can't let it touch the ground.
Alright, like I said, 10 by 14 feet. Very impressive in size, but not even near the largest flag that we fly here, okay? This flag fits approximately into the field of blue on the next size up, 17 by 25 feet. And that 17 by 25 foot flag fits approximately into the field of blue of that garrison, 30 by 42 feet. So again, large flags here at Fort McHenry, but rightfully so, okay? They are large signals and beacons to all those surrounding civilians, but also to the British, right? As they're sailing back down the Patapsco River, they see that garrison flag fly above this fort. And one British sailor says he had never seen such a glorious ensign before, right? So such a large, glorious flag flying. We're going to walk our side over to the top, pass off that edge, and we're going to grab the new crease that's made below, okay? So go ahead and walk it over. Perfect. Go ahead and grab that edge, perfect, grab that new crease. Kind of walk it out here. Make sure it's nice and taut. Nice straight edges. Take a second. Perfect. Okay, very good. We're going to do that again. Go ahead and pass off that edge. Bottom side, grab that new crease that's made below. Alrighty, and one more time. Pass it on across. Perfect. And folks down at the bottom, do we know how to start off our triangle? Yeah. Woo! We're going to be on the end here. Perfect. If you're familiar, start off our triangle, please. I'm coming down to assist just in case. Perfect. We're going to start off there. Trick is to keep those thumbs on those edges. So would you like to grab this one here straight up? And then if you'd like to jump in next. And then with each fold, let's pass off the flag so that everybody can have a chance to help fold up this flag. Perfect, and we'll continue that pattern. Something very interesting about the defense of this fort maybe is that it was done by a community, right? Similarly, the folding of a flag, you need a lot of people. It's not something you can do by yourself.
When do you fly the largest one? Do you need like extra strong wind? Or?
Good weather. We need decently sustainable weather of about 5 to 10 miles per hour.
Okay.
Yeah, because if not, the flag will fly a bit limp and it'll hang, and it has the ability to get stuck on our lightning rods and on the cables, right? So it just becomes a little bit of a hazard. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you all very much for helping.
Thank you.
Folks, 5:30 is when we'll lock up these buildings. You've got about
5:30?
15 minutes or so.
Thank you. Someone was looking out for us again. I walked right up to the changing of the flag at Fort McHenry, and it's all about the flag today. I had no idea that existed. I'm getting goosebumps right there. We've got the Carnival Cruise Line taking off right there. Look at that. At 7:30 a.m. on September 14, 1814, after 25 hours of shelling, the bombed ship HMS Volcano fires the last bursting bomb at Fort McHenry. As the silent minutes tick by and the eastern horizon brightens, the exhausted, wet defenders of Fort McHenry gaze downriver and wonder if the British will resume the attack. With the British in view, the Americans assemble on the parade ground for morning colors while the flash of white sails 2 miles away reveals the British fleet withdrawing. At 9 a.m., the garrison hoists the Star-Spangled Banner over the ramparts as the morning salute guns fire and 1,000 defenders cheer the improbable victory. You can walk all the way around the fort, which I'll do. Check out the cannons. These were placed here during the Civil War. They're not as old as the cannons we saw. Actually, they have some more reproductions of the War of 1812 cannons out there. Now, I don't know. I don't see anything marked out there where Francis Scott Key was. Might have to ask. You can hear the announcement on the cruise ship. Hear that? Hey, I have a question.
Yes.
Is the spot in the harbor marked where Francis Scott Key was?
So traditionally it has been. There has historically been a buoy out
Out
that
there?
way.
Okay.
Red, white, and blue one. It has not been there recently.
Okay.
That is something that the Coast Guard does, I believe.
Okay, so he said about 2 miles out towards the Key Bridge, which I believe, you can see it right here, the cruise ship is going to go through. I think it's being reconstructed. So out there, about 2 miles, check it out, we're right here. That is where Francis Scott Key saw Fort McHenry, saw the Star-Spangled Banner, and started riding it right there on the boat, way out there, right there in the harbor. That's pretty cool. That boat is probably going to go right past where it was. There's typically a buoy out there, and he said you can normally see it even though it's far. It must be a big buoy. There's ammunition storage right there, ammunition bunk. All right, it's 5:26. I'm going to exit the fort, and to make things convenient for you, I will put a website in the description below per usual for Fort McHenry, also the Flag House, and on those websites they have more history for you to read. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section, but you can clear those up on those websites for the finer details if you're curious, and hopefully you're able to come out here yourself one day, and hopefully it's not as hot as it is right now, sweating profusely. All right, although the fort's closing up, I have 15 minutes until the park closes, so I'm gonna cool off in the gift shop real quick. Maybe get a cold bottle of water. So on the backside of the visitor center, before you enter there, they have a map of the Chesapeake Bay area. We got Delaware over here to the right, Virginia. We've got Benedict, St. Michael's, Queenstown, Annapolis. We were just there the other day, and then up here, Baltimore, Fort McHenry, and then all the way up to Fredericktown and that word, Havre de Grace. They've got a baseball jersey of Fort McHenry. I like that. Nice little gift shop here. T-shirts, flags, of course. Got America 250 stuff. Get your own 3x5 50 stars flag for $79.95. Also, they have a 15-star replica of the flag that flew over the fort for $99.95. Star-Spangled Banner books, the story of a flag battle, the American Anthem, the Constitution Explained, some of the many books you can purchase here in the gift shop. There's even one for the Great American Documents. Here's one called Dawn's Early Light in 1812, the war that forged a nation. We've got a 250 bear here, and this is my first time having Dasani water in a tall boy can. Never had Dasani. I didn't even know they had Dasani in the can, but they do here at Fort McHenry. guys, I'm gonna keep this one really short, all because I was up till 4 a.m. last night. I slept a few hours, woke up, edited yesterday's video, and then drove all the way here. And I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Did I miss anything? Will I come back? Of course I will. But I hope you enjoyed this brief history, this tour of my journey through Baltimore on this week of exploring American history. What'd you think? Please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe below if it's your first time, and as I always say, there's much ahead, and I shall see you guys tomorrow. Thank you always for watching my videos. It means so much to me. Hopefully you had a happy Independence Day weekend. And we'll leave off with one last thing here. We've got a statue. Colonel George Armistead, commander of the fort during the bombardment by British fleet September 13th, 14th, 1814. Know you're awesome, know you're loved, and no matter who you are, no matter what you're going through, just know that there is always much ahead. The wind is no more, or at least that flag that stands with the Star-Spangled Banner was just taken down. It's not big enough to catch the wind because it's pretty windy right here in the shade. Oh, man, that's so good. I'm so thirsty. Thanks for watching my videos. It means so much to me. There's always much ahead. We've only just begun.